Hi, and welcome to our State of the City address. I'm Jeff Bankson with Leesburg's Lakefront TV. Please help me in welcoming our new mayor, Mayor Jay Hurley.
Hello, thank you for joining in on this episode of What's Going On in Your City, the great city of Leesburg. It is an honor for me to be here today and to try to give you a little bit of information about what we have going on in the town of Leesburg, Florida. We've got some exciting stuff. First off, I want to say what an honor it is to serve as your mayor for the next year. I appreciate the other fellow city commissioners who have put me in this position, and I look forward to working with them as we always do and trying to achieve some more goals that will make our city a better place for every resident. When I campaigned a couple of years ago, one of the things that I really said I wanted to do is put some emphasis on three particular areas. One was making sure that our public safety was exactly what it needed to be. Public safety at its finest. The police and the fire both, we have been able to bring our levels of morale and our levels of professionalism up in both of those agencies. We have two new chiefs that came on board with us in both of those departments, and so things have really worked out great in the public safety area. Secondly, we were working on trying to do something positive with our economic development. So we put some strategies together. We really knuckled down and tried to come up with some ideas that would entice some businesses to come to our city, and that has started happening in the last 2 years. We've seen some great results. I think one of the greatest things, though, is that I wanted to work on the quality of life issue. And in days gone by, I'll be honest with you, we had a commission that had been here a while and was a little stagnant. We had a commission that had wanted to try to keep things the way they were in the 60s. And that's good. Things were great in the 60s, and it was a wonderful time and a wonderful era, but things have changed. And because of that, we have to change and adapt accordingly. So one of the things that's really made an impact this last year is the fact that we have 4 out of 5 of our commissioners are brand new, basically. And we have a great cohesiveness between us. We have a joint vision, and all of us are excited to get in here to put our shoulders to the wheel and try to make something happen for our city that will help in all the aspects that we've discussed as far as economic development, quality of life, any of those areas, working towards making Leesburg better. Our big area right now, though, that we've put the focus on was something that I talked about in my campaign, and that was we are Leesburg, the lakefront city. And we put a lot of highlight back on Venetian Gardens, and we've put a lot of emphasis on trying to restore the jewel of Leesburg, and that has happened. We have started seeing some great strides in that. We have actually been able to get a vision for Venetian Gardens, and we've done it in 3 phases. We are now actively working on phase 1, which if those of you that drove by there recently noticed we had bought an apartment complex, and we were able to bulldoze that down, which gave us a future parking lot for the new splash pad in the playground area, plus a lot of extra green space. We've put new fencing and rails along the roadway so that it has brought beautification, but also provided real good safety for any children or anybody who may be playing in the park to try to reduce the risk of that aspect. And then we're just around the corner from expanding. You know, we had talked about at one time we were going to do just a splash pad. And then we started looking at maybe doing a playground because it was 25 years old and it was wood and it was broken down and causing a lot of issues for us and also the children who play on it. And then we started looking at the buildings that are around it, the structures that were there, and the pavilions, the restrooms. And so in phase 1, we're happy to report is going to be completely new. We're bulldozing the buildings that are there, and it will be a whole new slate coming in from when you pull into the new parking lot, or you go to the splash pad for our children, or you go to the playground area, or you want to rent the buildings or the gazebos or the restrooms. It's all going to be brand new. It's going to be current. It's going to look great. So this is just an example of some of the things that we've been working on with Venetian Gardens, restoring it back. We've done a lot of work inside the park itself. We've dredged, most of the canals now and cleaned up the waterfront area, the beach area, and started trying to restore some of that. We've started working on the different vegetations that are there naturally that should be there. We have lifted up all the trees. We've made improvements to the marina. We have worked to bring in additional docking spaces now is one of the things that we're working on. We've done a lot of improvements with the park, and we're adding benches now throughout the park. If you want to sponsor one, we're working on where you could sponsor a bench. That's something that's exciting that somebody recommended. So when you talk about Venetian Gardens, the jewel of Leesburg, getting back to that lakefront city, we have a lot of great things happening down at Venetian Gardens. And I think that if you start noticing the next couple of summers, you'll see the activity will go up, not just for people going through, but boaters will be coming in. And so it's exciting. We also have some exciting things that have been taking place at our airport. You know, it's kind of nice if you think about the city of Leesburg in comparison to all the other cities in Lake County. We are the only city that really is like a metropolitan city in the fact that we have such things as a community college, we have an airport, we have all of our own utilities. So we have a lot of things happening, and we have a lot of things that are working behind the scenes a lot of people really don't even pick up on. But one of those great things is the fact that we have an international airport. Right here in our own city, that is a big draw when you start talking about economic development, when you start bringing in dollars to our community from outside the area. Having an airport, having an international airport, we are expanding businesses there. We have local residents who are building hangars out there as we speak. We're putting in a sea ramp right now so that our seaplanes can start coming here for additional service work and things of that nature. So not only are we just a destination as other cities for just a flyby or a stop in and get a sandwich, but we're actually bringing it to a level of providing economic development, bringing a source of revenue to our city, and all those things work together to make it a better place for us in the quality of life issues. We've had things happen to us in the last couple of years, such as a company from Turkey that bought the Lake Square Mall. That was an exciting thing. And if you've drove out there or been inside, you've already seen some of the major changes that they've applied and some of the renovations they're doing. And they have some great aspirations for what they want to see come to pass there as well. So we have a lot of exciting things. But one of the things that I really am excited about, and again, I've mentioned it briefly, but I just want to say it in the closing tier, is that we have a commission who is working together as a strong team and with a lot of unity on a lot of issues. No longer is it one side against the other, sending it off to committees and putting things off. I told somebody the other day, I can look back over the last several years and see where we have been able to get more done in the last 1 year than the commission was able to get done over the last several years. And that's because we have a commission now that's working strong together on all points and really coming in as a team and with a lot of ideas and with a lot of support, wanting to make things better for our community. Having said that, I know there's a few of you here. If you have some questions, I'd be happy to answer that before we leave. Yes.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
Hurley. I guess what are some of your specific objectives as mayor? Like what do you plan to attack first?
Well, we've talked a lot about it already because one of my big pushes, as I said, was Venetian Gardens. And phase 1 is in place right now. One of the big pushes for me would be able to, there's a couple of aspects here, and you have some new buildings being built and some some things that are going to be a little further drawn out, but I'd really like to get the splash pad and the playground put in place so that our kids could have that by this summer. So that's really one of my biggest things, is trying to get phase 1 done this year so that we can enjoy it and get a little head start for the kids.
Mayor?
Yes.
I noticed at the last the city commission meeting, you brought up about everyone bringing to the table some resident or employee that's done some good. So tell me some of your thoughts about that. I mean, how did that come to pass?
Casey's asking how did a statement I made in the last commission meeting about putting some community spotlight on people who are involved in the community. Not only, you don't have to be a politician to care about your community or to be involved in your community. And myself, along with a lot of people, work in leadership roles or get involved with different civic organizations or community projects. And it's exciting because, you show up to an event and there's 50 volunteers. And that's what I like about a small town. When you go to some of your bigger metropolitan areas, you're going to have it's organized and it's paid staff. But here, when you get that hometown feel, that's when people come in and they want to be a part of what's going on in their community. They want it to be good for their neighbors, for their kids, for their grandkids, for whatever. And so I started noticing when I was working with different organizations, different groups, whether you're working at the Christmas parade or we were talking about, the Saturday markets, or whether you're looking at any of our major events that take place, it's not just Leesburg employees, but it is a lot of residents who just have a passion for this city and wanted to see it. So I made it my goal this year to recognize every commission meeting, at least one person, whether it's a city employee or someone with, one of the different civic organizations, or just somebody from, that lives down the road that came in and on their own volunteered to do something to make our city better. And I want to spotlight and tell them how much it means to me, because I know a lot of us feel that way. We want to tell them thank you, but we don't know how. And so I thought this is a good way for our town to say thank you for having a division and for caring about our community and putting your effort on your home time and doing something about it. Yes, ma'am.
Briefly about Viaport Mall. Any plans of some major stores, any other additional developments for the Viaport?
They have some big things working, and it is exciting because of contract negotiations and because things are not nailed down solid. They really don't want to get it out there ahead of the ball, you might say. And so they've asked that a lot of the different chains, larger chains that would be coming in. But I can tell you they've got a lot of space out there that they've been trying to develop. The old JCPenney store is available, and they've got a big company wanting to come in there. The other side of the Target store, they put in a great bowling alley, and it's got a restaurant and lounge and arcade. There's a lot of great things in half of the Target store, so that left a lot of other space now that they're looking to develop with stuff. So Viaport is definitely on the ball. I mean, they're working hard to make that a success. Back beforehand when it was Simon Malls that had it, it was the smallest of their malls, and so it was kind of treated like the last of their malls. We kind of got the low end of stuff, where now the company that has it, Viaport, is really eagerly and actively going after big change, trying to make it as good as it could possibly be. And so it's exciting, but I don't have any names for you today to tell you what companies might be coming in. So we got to hold off on that.
Along that, we see a lot of real estate downtown that's still available. Is there anything on changing the codes or making things more accessible to bring businesses into downtown?
I'm glad you talked about it. There's two things I want to tell you about some of the property between, let's say, Venetian Gardens and getting downtown. There are some key properties that would be wonderful if the city could acquire them, because it would help us to tie downtown to Venetian Gardens, and a lot of the events and stuff that we had, we could use that thoroughfare and include that when we're doing things. One of the biggest events that we have is Bike Week, and so you could have vendors coming down through there and incorporate that right into Venetian Gardens. So just for one example, that would be great for us. But again, it goes back to dollars. And if we had a lot of money and we had the resources, we have all the ideas that we need. We got way more ideas and way more vision than we do dollars. And so, unfortunately for us right now, it was a priority. Do we go forward with phase one of Venetian Gardens, trying to get things done in that regard, or do we try to buy properties that we would later in years down the road try to help facilitate bringing those two areas together? And we all decided that we'd really like to get the impact at Venetian Gardens and get something like that started now, and hopefully when the money is there and the timing is right, the property will still be available. But that does bring me to something else that I'm very excited about, and I've been pushing for this for years, and some of the other commissioners had gotten on board with it, but we still had some resistance, and now we're all on board with it. And I want to speak to two things, and that's some of the code enforcement issues that we have, and also some of the building ordinances that are in place. If you go to some of the surrounding cities, you'll find where they have buildings downtown that are 2 and 3 stories high, and there may be a restaurant or a lounge or a retail store on those top floors, where here in Leesburg you don't see that. It's just the bottom floor. And that is because the way our policies and ordinances were written, if you go in there and you do a 25% improvement on that building, then you have to bring the entire building up to code, and that's ADA as well, and you have to put in elevators and change the angle on the staircases and the electrical. And so for a developer to come in and say, I'll do that, it's just too costly, and it doesn't justify the means, doesn't justify the end. So we've not been able to get that. Now, this year, right now, I expect sometime in February, we have sat down with the building department and with code enforcement and all the building officials, and we are adapting new ordinances that are going to adjust all of that so that we can really start utilizing the space that's available, start being that draw downtown, for example, that'll let us start doing things without making major renovations to these buildings. And so we'll be able to have our own kind of, I hate to use other cities, but like Mount Dora downtown and Eustis, be able to use some of the upstairs things that are there. that also leads into some code enforcement things that are working also. We've changed some ordinances already at the end of last year. We've started acquiring properties, condemning them, bulldozing them down, and really trying to work on blight. Nobody wants that. It's bad for any neighborhood, it's bad for any community, it's bad for any business, and it's bad for any city. So we're actively now taking a strong, aggressive approach towards buildings that have been abandoned or dilapidated or in dire need of repair, and we're trying to do things. You'll notice we were able to take down the corner of 27 and Main Street. We did the new streetscape and we have the great arches there, but then we had 2 buildings that were abandoned and were in bad shape. We've been able to get one of those bulldozed down. The gas station is gone and the Quick Lube should be gone at the end of this month, and then we'll be developing that into green spaces with a little more of a park setting. So, we're looking at a lot of things, and that is one of the biggest issues and one of the strongest benefits to our community changing is going to be the code enforcement angles that we're doing in the ordinances we're making. Yes?
Mayor Hurley, you've been a commissioner for the past couple of years. Just kind of curious, from a personal note, how did it finally feel to sit in that mayor's seat?
How does it finally feel to sit in the mayor's seat? It's an honor to sit in the mayor's seat. But for a lot of people, and I've seen it, and I really actually, I'll give you a little quick explanation of what it is in our city. But we have what's called a soft mayor, and that is anytime you have a commission, but the day-to-day operations are operated and run by a city manager. And so for the city commission, we don't elect, as far as the constituents don't elect a city mayor. We actually elect 5 commissioners, and it rotates between us, and we select one each year. So to be selected by my other commissioners, that was an honor. But you serve, obviously as the chair of the board meetings and commission meetings, and you do a lot of additional meetings. I'll tell you that much. I didn't realize how many extra meetings you do get to do. But it's definitely an honor, but the responsibility and the task still remains between all 5 of us. And so in that regard, it was no different. I just have to work a little harder at the meetings, and I have to try to stay on my toes a little bit extra when we go through it. Any other questions? I just want to say thank you for having me on the show, letting me come and speak a little bit. If you have any questions, please reach out to the city and ask to speak to myself or any of the other city commissioners, and we'll all be happy to help you out. Thank you very much.